guys, George here from TechStuff31.
And I'm Will.
And today we're going to be showing you how to install a pop-up in-ground sprinkler for less than $20.
Okay guys, let's get on with it. So today we're going to make a really awesome pop-up in-ground sprinkler system. And these sprinkler systems are pretty great. A lot of people use them. It provides an easy, safe sprinkler system because when you mow your lawn, usually if there's a sprinkler and a hose, it's very obnoxious. But they also cost a lot of money. So today we're going to show you how to make one for under $20. And you can put it anywhere on your lawn or in your beds. And we have a range of options, but first I'm going to get to the basics. So what we recommend is you just get a good old hose. We got this one at Home Depot. It was $4 because it was 50% off because it was already opened. This is 50 feet. You can just find the cheapest hose and just measure the length that you need from the spigot at the side of your house to where you want the sprinkler to be. The second thing you need, obviously, is a sprinkler. This is a Orbit. This is a professional grade sprinkler. This was actually $850, and this one's adjustable. You can actually adjust how far it goes, where it goes, and what sort of sprinkler pattern it's on this. And this is just a pop-up sprinkler, just like any other pop-up sprinkler. It just comes right up and does whatnot. You can also get much cheaper ones, as cheap as $250, that have the pattern that you like. There's a full pattern, there's a quarter pattern, half pattern. Basically, when you go to Home Depot and you go into the sprinkler section or Lowe's or whatever store you go into, it should be pretty self-evident. You can read up and figure out what you need. Now, unfortunately, this may look like it goes into, but it does not actually. I've tried for about half an hour to make this screw into this, and it doesn't work, I guarantee you. Okay? So what you have to buy is this really over-expensive adapter that they may or may not sell at Home Depot or Lowe's. They should do it. And really what you should do is go bug the person in the plumbing, or if you have some experience yourself with the sizing, you can probably figure this out yourself. Just open it up when you're in the store, not when you get home, because I did that too. And just make sure it fits. Just screw it in, and it should be quite snug for you. Hopefully this fits, and it does. And this should screw in here, and in the store, just make sure it screws right in to your hose. And now don't make the mistake of getting a male-to-male, all right? Because if you had a male-to-male, then where are you going to screw the hose into the wall? So you need to make sure you get a male-to-female. Male goes into the back of the sprinkler, then the hose goes into the other end. So depending on which sprinkler you get, the adapter will be different. So just sort of go and look. You have to make sure you have the hose adapter on one side and the right threading for the sprinkler on the other side. And again, they're different threading, so they won't go right in. So this was $4, this was $850, and the hose was $4. But you can get one of these as cheap as $250 depending on the pattern you want. Okay, now let's go for tools.
Alright, so now I'm going to talk about the tools you're going to need to install your in-ground sprinkler. You're going to need an edger, which might seem weird, but I'll show you why you'll need it. You're also going to need a spade. These tools are very common. You'll probably have one. And it will be very easy to install your sprinkler with these tools. So if you're going to be putting your sprinkler maybe in the middle of your lawn or something, and you're going to be going over grass, you're going to need the edger. Where we found this very helpful. All you're going to do, you're going to take the edger, and as if you were edging the edge of a garden, you're just going to push it into the ground, and you're going to be able to pull up the grass. You're going to keep going, and when you'll be able to go on the ground, you'll be able to pick up the pieces of grass because they'll be caught on one edge. The other side will still be attached, so you'll be able to pick them up. You'll be able to slide the hose right in there. So when you get to the area where you want to put your sprinkler, you're going to use your edger. You're going to dig it into the ground, around in a square pattern. And once you do this, you'll be able to pick this up off the ground with a little force. You'll be able to pick this square up that you just cut out. And then you'll have a hole in the ground. You'll dig that a little bit deeper with your spade. And you'll be able to put the sprinkler in there, cut a small hole in the sod that you just cut out, stick that back on over the sprinkler, and you won't even be able to tell what happened. And the sprinkler will just pop up when you turn the water on, and it'll be great. Now, what we're going to be doing is just putting it in the bed. It's much simpler to do that. We're just going to be using a spade today. Alright, so something else we found helpful when we were installing our sprinkler is this hand shovel. It allows you to reach in places where your normal spade might not be able to get. It allows you just to dig a little bit deeper in the places where you need to, and it makes it a lot easier to install the sprinkler. So we highly recommend you pick one of these up. You probably already have one if you've done any type of gardening. They're very common. So the first thing we're going to want to do is make sure we have the right length hose. So we're going to be starting at the spigot right here where the water comes out. We're going to be threading the hose underground, and then we're going to be digging a hole here, and the sprinkler is going to go about here. Now, we picked up the 50-foot hose only because it's a lot cheaper than the 10-foot hose or 15-foot hose, and so it just didn't make sense to buy the more expensive hose. And we're going to show you, if you do have extra hose, what to do with that and how to coil up the slack in the ground so you don't have hose sticking out everywhere. Okay, so now we're going to open up the hose. You got a knife. Cut these things like that, like so. Cut into the air. Cut in your face. There you go. Cut that. Okay. Now that we've opened up the hose, close that knife, put that off to the side. We're going to see where our hose is going to go. So I'm just going to put it in the spigot, like this, if I can figure out how to do it. There we go. And get the other end of the hose. Try and leave it coiled up. That will make it a lot easier later on when you bury the rest of the hose. We're just going to see, we're going to find a place in between where we want to go and where we're starting. I think right here is a nice place where we're going to put the slack from the hose. So we'll just put this down here. And we're going to find where we're going to take the rest of the hose. We're going to take it to right here. So this looks good. This is about what we're going to do, except it's going to be underground. We're going to dig a hole here. We're going to put the slack in the hose. And then we're going to just dig everything else under the ground and thread it through to the other end. So let's get started with that.
Okay guys, so as you've seen, George has laid out the hose, but you just have to make sure that you are not hitting any obstacles. Look for rocks, look for plants, don't want to get caught up on too much stuff. And you're just going to dig it, not too deep, but you're just going to start digging right next to where the hose is. Be careful not to hit the hose. And just dig. And you can pretty much figure out how deep to make everything. I make it about 2 to 3 inches deep, maybe even a little bit less depending on the area. And just enough to make sure the hose is underground and unnoticeable, but high enough so that you can easily access it and easily bury it. So that's what we want to do. This shouldn't take too long. Maybe you can even get a friend to help you out. So now we're just going to show you what we do in high speed and stop to explain a few things.
Alright, so right here we've got the hole that we dug for the coil of hose. It's right here. It's the same size as the hose. It should fit in quite nicely. We've continued to dig our trench over here on to where we're going to be digging the hole for the sprinkler. So you got to keep in mind for the digging of the final hole where the sprinkler is going to go, it has to be as deep as the sprinkler, which ours isn't even close, which is going to be attached to this adapter, which is going to attach to your hose. And you've got to keep in mind that this has to be deep enough so that when the hose is in the ground as well, it doesn't kink. That's the biggest problem that we run into, is that the hose will be kinked in the ground like this. So the water flow can't get through the sprinkler, so the sprinkler will not be as powerful as it's supposed to be. So something you can do to avoid the problem of the kinking of the hose is to get an adapter from Home Depot. You can pick them up. They're 45-degree adapters we found. They probably sell 90-degree adapters. We just didn't have any in stock in our local store. But you can get 90 or 45-degree adapters, 2 45s or 190, and that will make the turn for you, so you won't have to worry about the hose kinking at all, which is really nice. So you won't have to dig the hole as deep. But for our purposes, we're doing it as cheap as possible. We're just going to dig the hole deeper. It's going to probably have to be something like this. And when the water goes through the hose, it does make it a little bit bigger and unkinks it, but we're still going to have to dig the hole pretty deep. Alright, so what we got right here is there is a slope to the bed. It is a slightly raised bed, so we're going to have to dig down a bit. So we dug our hole right here where the sprinkler is going to be going into the ground. But something else you have to keep in mind is getting a slope to go down. So the hose won't be like this. It will be more of like a gradual decline, and as opposed to just like a straight fall down. So you can get better water flow. So what we've been doing is taking our hand shovel and just going down like this. There are a lot of roots in here. That doesn't really matter. You can just cut through them. And usually the small ones aren't as important. So you're going to pull through like this, keep doing that, and that will make a slope for your hose to go down to make it a little bit smoother, so you can get more water flow and the sprinkler will be more powerful. Alright, so when we're going to put the hose in the ground, we're just going to take it, we're going to start shoving it in the ground like this. We're just going to keep doing this, and you may notice when we're putting it in the ground, we're getting some extra slack that we didn't account for. So you want to put it in the ground before your hole, so you know, oh, we can make an extra coil now. We can create another coil underneath, the hose, throw it in the ground right here. Fits in quite nicely. We got our hole right there. You got to keep it all down and make sure it's not poking up like this. If it's poking up like that, we won't be able to put the dirt over it smoothly. So you just want to make sure it's all nice and low down like this. Keep it in the ground. And what we're noticing, we have too much hose over here for our sprinkler. So what we're going to do, we're going to put the sprinkler on the ground about where it's going to go, run the hose back, and we notice we can make almost another coil here. So we're just going to do that right there. So as you can see, we've got the hose in the ground, mostly, and we have it mapped out where we're planning on putting it. So to keep the hose in the ground, we're just going to take a rock like this, rock right here. We're going to put this on top of the hose so it doesn't come out of the ground, and we'll be able to continue our work without this uncoiling. Alright, so since we got the hose screwed onto the sprinkler, we're going to unscrew it with the adapter. If I can get it off, I made it pretty tight. Get that off. And we're going to take a look at what we got in the sprinkler. So we got the sprinkler here. We're just going to take our knife, open up the sprinkler, see what we've got in there. Don't cut towards yourself, very unsafe. So you just got to open this up, close the knife, throw that away, tear open this stuff. So we got our packaging, make sure to recycle that, good for the environment. Alright, so the sprinkler we got comes with different heads you can put on to adjust how the water comes, but we found the one that on our sprinkler, the one it comes with is the best, so we're just going to ignore those for now. Ours does have this tool so we can adjust how far the water goes, the different angles, how it spreads, and most importantly, the where the water will go. If it'll go 90 degrees, 180 degrees, that's what we're going to use this tool for, but we're going to throw that off to the side right now. Alright, so now we're going to reattach the sprinkler to the hose. It doesn't matter how it goes on, especially if you get one. No, it doesn't matter how it goes on. We're just going to screw it on. This is one of the most important parts. You want to get it on tightly, because if you don't get it on tight enough and water is leaking out here, you will lose pressure, so the sprinkler won't be as powerful, but also you'll have a huge mud pit in the ground, and it'll just keep filling up with water whenever you turn on the sprinkler, and it just won't be a good situation. So you want to put it on as tight as you possibly can. Don't over-tighten it. You probably won't do that, but because you might eventually want to take it apart. So this is on pretty tight. I think that will be good. So we're just going to set it in the ground, see how we want it. We want it about like this. That looks good. And we want to keep ours pretty low in the ground because it pops up maybe about 4 inches into the air, so you don't have to worry about anything being covered up. So we got that down there. So we have this is where I want it. So what I'm going to do is just bury this end of the sprinkler. So I'm just going to start putting the dirt that I dug out back on top of the hose right here. Make sure it gets in under the roots, over the roots, all that. Get it in there. Keep pushing it in. Because you want it to be stable in the ground. You don't want it to be moving around. You don't want it to fall over. You want it to be pretty stable in the ground. We're just going to keep covering it. Doesn't matter if you cover the top. It will poke back out of the ground. So we're going to keep covering it up. Now we got our entire sprinkler covered up. And what we're going to do is turn this on to make sure it does what we want it to do before we bury the entire thing in case we have to adjust anything. The sprinkler we have, I'm going to see where when it comes standard, where it's going to oscillate to. You want to make sure of this so you're not going to get wet when you turn it on for the first time. So ours is pretty much where we want it to be before we even touched it, which is pretty good. But we're just going to turn it on and see what happens. Alright, so on the house, we're going to want to make sure this is as tight as it possibly can get so we don't leak any water there. There we go. It's tight. So I'm going to turn the sprinkler on, get these things out of the way so they don't get soaked. Let's turn the sprinkler on and see what happens. You're going to have to wait a little bit because the hose is going to have to fill up with water because it was just filled with air. Notice, there we go. The sprinkler is actually on. We're going to see what happens. So I'm pretty happy with how the water's coming out. It doesn't look like it's too kinked in the ground, which is always good. Now something I'm noticing, I think it's going to go into our neighbor's yard a bit. We might have to adjust that, but that shouldn't be a problem. Alright, so what we're going to do, we're going to leave it on, and then we're going to bury the rest of the hose. So you want to leave it on because when it's expanded, that's going to be as big as it will be. So you don't want it to expand and come out of the ground. So it's already on, so there's no more expanding, it's going to go on. So we're going to start next to the house right here. Get it to go straight down like this, and just throw the dirt back on. Now, you might want to put a rock right here or something. I'll just use a shovel for now, so it'll kind of hold it in place and not come up. We're just going to keep covering this back up with all the dirt we had dug out before. Make sure it's in the hole. We don't just bury it not in the hole, which would be weird. Keep going, like this, across. Now you're going to want to pack this down a lot so it doesn't expand and move around too much. Keep going, across this, there we go, into there. Alright, so now we are at the place where we have our coil of hose. So we're going to make sure we got all the stuff in here. This is nice, this is where we want it. Nice down in the hole. So we're just going to cover this up. Fill it in. Fill that in. So, make sure we don't lose our tool. So, we want to smooth out the ground where we had dug it up so it doesn't look as ruined as it is. We're going to come back here, continue filling in what we dug out. Try and remove some rocks. So, I'm pretty happy with how this has turned out. I mean, we'll probably get some more mulch, throw that on top so you won't be able to notice as much what we've done here. But for less than $20, you've got an in-ground sprinkler. You can control it from the spigot right here. You can turn it off, turn it on. So this is pretty good. Instead of having a sprinkler going across your yard, you've got this one. This is cheap. I mean, if you price it right, you can probably get one of these going nicely for less than it would cost to get a nice above ground sprinkler.
Okay guys, in conclusion, this has worked out pretty well. We've done a few of these, and it's pretty awesome. Under $20, there's a few things you can always do to improve it, and hopefully you're smart enough to sort of figure this out on your own layout. Don't do it identical to ours. Pretty much follow the same steps over grass. Do what George said at the beginning of the video. Use the edger to cut a nice slice through your yard. Peel back the grass that you sliced. Stick the hose in there, put it back, cut the sod square. Dig the nice hole for the sprinkler, not the kink, under that sod hole. Put the sprinkler in, put the sod right back on top of the little hole for the sprinkler to pop right out. You'll be good to go over grass, over dirt. It looks great. Either way, this is a really cool, awesome, cheap trick to making your lawn look professional, green, and awesome in the summertime. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos. Check out some other cool things that we are doing. And if there's anything else you'd like us to do, put it in the description below.